Question number 1. Who among the following started newspaper Shom Prakash? Answer is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was the founder and advisor of Som Prakash and was edited by Dwarakanath Vidyabhushan. Second question. Consider the following statement with respect to KOL movement. Large scale transfer of land from coal headmen to outside farmers and moneylenders who were oppressive and demanded heavy taxes was the main reason for coal uprising. Budho Bhagat was the leader associated with the coal movement. Third question. Consider the following statements. Fakir and Sannyasi movement are mentioned in the novel Anandamath written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. Fakir and Sannyasi both lived on alms provided by their followers. They also enjoyed rent-free land. The company considered settlement society as ideal. Therefore, fakirs and sannyasis who were wanderers were looked down with suspicion by the company and attempts were made to bring them under law and order. Question number 4. Which one of the following Indian leader was dismissed by British from the Indian civil service? Answer is Surendranath Banerjee. In 1868, Surendranath Banerjee travelled to England to sit for Indian civil service exam, and though he cleared the exam, he was prohibited from joining the civil services because of a dispute over his correct age. In 1871, he cleared the exam and was posted as an assistant magistrate in the Sylhet district, now in Bangladesh, but was dismissed in 1874 in the midst of controversy and protest following charges of procedural irregularities. Question number 5. Consider the following statement with respect to the Asiatic Society of Bengal. It was founded by Sir William Jones. It aimed to encourage Oriental studies. The society translated many Sanskrit works into English. The first book chosen was for this was Ramayana. Question number 6. Consider the following statement with respect to Warren Hastings. He was the first Governor General of Bengal, not of India. He abolished the dual government system introduced by Robert Clive. Under the dual government system, the company had the right to collect revenue, and the uh, Indian rulers had the administrative authorities. Question number 7. Consider the following statement about Surya Sen. Surya Sen was the member of Anushilan Samiti and, and not its founder. Anushilan Samiti was a revolutionary organization led by Satish Chandra Basu. Basu believed in the ideology of violence as the means for ending British rule in India. Surya Sen was involved in the Chittagong armory raid and was not the and was and not in the Kakori conspiracy case. Surya Sen, also known as Master Da, Master Da formed a group of 63 young passionate revolutionaries and raided the Chittagong British armory on April 18, 1930. He planned to capture two major British armories in Chittagong and distribute weapons to other revolutionaries who would then establish an armed unit. Question number 8. The immediate cause of Sepoy mutiny was use of cartridge greased with cow and pig fat. Which of the following pairs were correctly matched? Answer is Scandias Gwalior, Bhonsle Nagpur, Holkar Indore, Peshwa Pune. Question number 10. Which of the following statement about Mahatma Gandhi's South African experience are true? Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born on October 2nd, 1869 in Porbandar in the princely state of Kathiawar in Gujarat. His father was a Diwan of the state. Having studied law in England, Gandhi in 1898 went to South Africa in connection with a case involving his client Dada Abdullah. In South Africa, he witnessed the ugly face of white racism and humiliation and contempt to which Asians who had gone to South Africa as laborers was subjected. He decided to stay in South Africa to organize the Indian workers to enable them to fight for their rights. He stayed there till 1914, after which he returned to India. Question number 11. Consider the following statement regarding Rohitwari settlement. The establishment of British rule in South and southwestern India brought new problems of land settlement. The officials believed that in these regions there were no zamindars with large estate with whom settlement of land revenue could be made, and that the introduction of the zamindar system would upset the existing state of affairs. Many Madras officials, led by Reid and Munro, recommended that settlement should therefore be made directly with the actual cultivators. The Rohitwari settlement was at the end introduced in the parts of Madras and Bombay presidencies at the beginning of the 19th century. The settlement under the Rohitwari system was not made permanent. It was revised periodically after 20 to 30 years when the revenue demand was usually raised. Question number 12. In order to reform Hindu religion, Swami Dayanand Saraswati uh, used the following methods. Dayanand Saraswati opposed the caste system. However, he supported the Varna system, which meant that all beings were not born into any caste but were classified into caste on the basis of their occupation. Dayanand Saraswati stressed on one god and rejected idol worship. Dayanand Saraswati's main message was for the Hindus to go back to the roots of their religion, which are the Vedas. He believed that the Hindu religion and the Vedas on which it was based were eternal, unalterable, infallible, and divine. Therefore, he gave the slogan, Go back to the Vedas, and the Vedas are the source of all knowledge. Question number 13. Which of the following were the major cause of civil uprising against companies' rule? Changes in the economy, administration, and land revenue system were against the people under the company rule. These changes led to the disruption of the agrarian society, causing prolonged and widespread suffering. Also, the colonial policy of intensifying demands for land revenue and extracting as large an amount as possible produced an upheaval in Indian villages. In Bengal, for example, in less than 30 years, the land revenue collection was raised to nearly double the amount collected under Mughals. Several zamindars and palegars who were lost control over their land and its revenue were against the company rule. The ego of traditional zamindars and palegars was hurt due to being sidelined in the rank by the government officials and a new class of merchants and moneylenders. The ruin of Indian craft industries due to colonial policies impoverished millions of artisans whose misery was further compounded by the disappearance of their traditional patrons and buyers, princes, chieftains, and zamindars. Question number 14. Consider the following statement about Anglo-Sikh War. The first Anglo-Sikh War was fought between the British Army and the Sikh Army, and the victory was on the British side. The outcome of this war was a peace pact called Treaty of Lahore, signed on March 9, 1846. As per the Treaty of Lahore, signed on March 9, 1846, between Lord Hardinge and Dalip Singh, a British resident was kept at Lahore, the Major Henry Lawrence. The Sikh provided the war indemnity of more than 1 crore to the British. The Jalandhar dope was to merge in the territories of the British. Question number 15. Which of the following statements about the Ilbert Bill are true? Ilbert Bill was introduced in 1883. The contents of the bill stated that from now on British and the European subjects were tried in Sessions Court by Indian judges who were senior enough in the civil services to preside over such proceedings. It was this provision that would be source of great anger among the European community. Question number 16. Consider the following statement regarding the development of railways during British rule. After 1880, railways were built through private enterprises as well as through state agencies. By 1905, nearly 45,000 kilometers of railway have been built. There three important aspects of the development of Indian railway should be kept in view. Firstly, nearly the entire amount of over 350 crores of rupees invested in them was provided by British investors, Indian capital contributing only a negligible share to it. Secondly, they were for the past 50 years financially losing concern which were not able to pay interest on the capital invested in them. This loss was made good in the case of privately built railways by the government of India, which guaranteed a fixed return on the capital invested. Thirdly, in their planning, construction, and management, the economic political development of India and her people was not kept at the forefront. On the contrary, the primary consideration was to serve the economic, political, and military interest of British imperialism in India. Question number 17. During which of the peasant movement there was a social boycott of moneylenders and their associate? Answer is Deccan Riots. In May and June 1875, peasants of Maharashtra in some parts of Pune, Satara, and Ahmednagar district revolted against the increasing agrarian distress. The riots' specific purpose was to obtain and destroy the bonds, decrees, and other documents in the possession of the moneylenders. The Deccan Riots began at Supa village in the district of Pune. The peasants initiated social boycott of the moneylenders and their associates. Question number 18. Which of the following were the favorable condition for Portuguese in the expanding their business interest in India? Answer. India except Gujarat, ruled by the powerful Muhammad Begharha. India except Gujarat, the northern part was much divided among many small powers. In Deccan, the Bahmani kingdom was breaking up into smaller kingdoms. None of the powers had a navy worth its name, nor did they think of developing their naval strength. As regard the Arab merchants and ship owners who until then dominated the Indian Ocean trade, they had nothing to match the organization and unity of the Portuguese. The Portuguese had cannons placed on their ship. In the Far East, the imperial decrees of the Chinese emperor limited the navigational reach of the Chinese ships. Question number 19. With reference to the revolt of 1857, which of the following were social religious cause for discontent against the British? One of the major reasons for the revolt was social religious policies of the British, which included racial superiority and discrimination, missionary activities, and deliberate efforts to subvert the religious beliefs of the people in India. The conservative religious and social sentiments of many Indians were hurt by some of the humanitarian measures which government took on the advice of the Indian reformers, such as abolition of practice of sati, permission of widow remarriage, opening of Western education to girls. It was considered as interference in their faith and values. Religious sentiments were also hurt by the officials' policy of taxing the lands belonging to temples and mosques, which had been exempted from taxation by previous Indian rulers. Rediscovery of India's past by European scholars gave a psychological boost to educate Indians later, and it has nothing to do with 1857 revolt. Question number 20. Which of the following statement associated with Dadabhai Nauroji? He was first member to become member of parliament in Britain. He was associated with Renumai Mazda Yasanan Sabha. He agitated for granting the right to inherit property for human. Question number 21. Consider the following statement with respect to Wahhabi movement in India. Wahhabi movement in India. It was an Islamic revivalist movement founded by Sayyid Ahmad Barilwi. Its important center was at Patna, though it had its mission in Hyderabad, Madras, Bengal, UP, and Bombay. The movement was inspired by the teachings of Abdul Wahab of Saudi Arabia. Question number 22. Which of the following is correct about the doctrine of lapse? Doctrine of lapse was an annexation policy followed widely by Lord Dalhousie when he was India's Governor General from 1848 to 1856. According to this, any princely state that was under the direct or indirect control of East India Company, where the ruler did not have a legal male heir, would be annexed by the company. As per this, any adopted son of the Indian ruler could not be proclaimed as heir to the kingdom. The company took over the princely states of Satara, Jaipur, Sambhalpur, Nagpur, Jhansi, Tor and Arcot and Udaipur under the terms of the doctrine of lapse. Question number 23. Which one among the following was not possible reason for the success of Nadir Shah's military camping in Delhi? Uh, Answer is use of superior military technology by the invading army. Nadir Shah was the founder of the Afsharid dynasty. Nadir Shah led his army, which consisted of 80,000 army men. He placed 3,000 of his army men in the front as a clear line of defense against the Mughal army. Nadir Shah advanced towards India in 1738 at the Battle of Karnal on 13 February 1739. Muhammad Shah was defeated and surrendered. The whole city of Delhi was destroyed, looted, plundered, and ruined by the army of Nadir Shah. Nadir Shah took with him the peacock throne built by Shah Jahan. He also took the legendary Kohinoor diamond. Question number 24. Consider the following statement. The importance of Battle of Buxar is that not only the Nawab of Bengal but also the Mughal Emperor of India was defeated by the English. The victory made the English a great power in the northern India and contenders for the supremacy over the whole India. Through the Treaty of Allahabad, Shah Alam II agreed to issue a firman granting the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa to East India Company in lieu of an annual payment of 26 lakh. Question number 25. Consider the following statement related to the failure of 1857 revolt. The limited territorial spread was one of the factors for the failure of the revolt. The eastern, southern, and western parts of India remained more or less unaffected. This was probably because of the earlier uprising in those regions had been brutally suppressed by the company. The mutinous lacked a coherent ideology. They represented diverse elements with differing grievance and concept of current politics. Modern nationalism was also unknown in India. In fact, the revolt of 1857 played an important role in bringing the Indian people together and imparting to them the consciousness of belonging to one country. Educated Indians viewed the revolt backward looking, supportive of the feudal order. These people had high hopes that the British would usher in an era of modernization. Question number 26. The suppression of Indian language newspaper under the Vernacular Press Act of 1878 was caused by the criticism of inhuman approach of English officials towards the victims of the famine of 1876-77. Vernacular Press Act of 1878 proposed by Lytton, the then Viceroy of India, was also known as Gagging Act, and it was meant only for vernacular or native language newspaper, not for English ones. The most criticized feature of the act was that there was no provision for appealing and there was discrimination between European language newspaper and the local language ones. Question number 27. The staple commodities of export by the European power from India in the middle of 18th century were cotton, indigo, saltpeter, and pepper. Items of export by the European power from India in the middle of 18th century as follows: cotton, textile, raw silk, silk fabrics, hardware, indigo, saltpeter, opium, rice, wheat, sugar, pepper, and other spices, precious stones, and drugs. Question number 28. Consider the following statement. The battle of Sawli was fought between Portuguese and the English. The battle impressed the Mughal ruler Jahangir and he issued the firman permitting the English company to build a factory at Surat. The Third Carnatic War ended with the Treaty of Paris in 1763. The English defeated the Dutch in the Battle of Chinsurah Bedara or Hooghly in 1759. This battle strengthened the position of British in Bengal. Question number 29. Consider the following tribal uprising. The Bhils. The Bhils are the indigenous tribes of the Western Ghats with their strongholds in Khandesh. During 1817 to 1819, due to the agrarian hardship, they revolted against the English East India Company under the leadership of Sevaram. The Ho, Kol and Santal uprising occurred in Chota Nagpur region. Question number 30. Match list 1 with list 2. Land allotted to big feudal lords. This method is called Jagirdari system. Land allotted to revenue farmers for rent collectors. This is known as Zamindari system. Land allotted to each peasant with the right to sublet. This is sublet, mortgage, transfer, gift or sell. This is known as Roitwari system. Revenue settlements are made at village level. This is known as Mahalwari system. Question number 31. Which of the following statements about the formation of Indian National Congress is true? On 20th December 1885, the Indian National Congress was founded at Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College in Bombay with 78 delegates in attendance. Ho- a- the safety valve theory regarding the formation of the Indian National Congress emerged from the biography of A.O. Hume written by the William Wedderburn. W.C. Banerjee was the first president of the Indian National Congress. Hume assumed office as the General Secretary and Umesh Chandra Banerjee of Calcutta was elected President. An early decision was that the President would be formed from the different region where the session was to be held. Question number 32. Which of the following were reasons for the success of European trading companies in South India during the 17th century? Between the middle of 16th century and the middle of 18th century, India's overseas trade steadily expanded. This was due to the trading activities of the various European companies which came to the India during this period. The main reason of the success of the European companies was the fall of strong Vijayanagara Empire, after which only weak states were existing at the time in southern India. Question number 33. This is the following statements with reference to the Brahmo Samaj. In 1829, Rajaram Mohan Rai founded a new religious society, the Brahma Samaj, later known as Brahmo Samaj, whose purpose was to purify Hinduism and to preach theism and worship of one God. The new society was to be based on the twin pillars of reason and Vedas and Upanishads. It was also to incorporate the teaching of other religions. The Brahmo Samaj denied the need for the priestly class for interpreting religious writing. Every individual had the right and the capacity to decide with the help of his own intellect what was right and what was wrong in the religious book or principles. The Brahmos was also great social reformers. They actively opposed the caste system and child marriage and supported. The Brahmos were also great social reformers. They actively opposed the caste system, child marriage, and supported general upliftment of women, including widow remarriage and the spread of modern education to men and women. Question number 34. Which of the following is correct regarding revolt of 1857? The proclamation that was issued by rebels under the name of Bahadur Shah appealed to the people to join the fight under the standards of both Muhammad and Mahavir. It was remarkable that during the uprising, religious divisions between Hindu and Muslim were hardly noticeable, and despite British attempts to create such division. Question number 35. Which of the following development works can be credited to Lord Dalhousie? Lord Dalhousie from 1848 to 1856, laying the first railway line between Bombay and Thane in 1853. Introduction of telegraph in India 1850. Open competition was introduced in Indian civil services 1854. Question number 36. As per the Second Anglo-Maratha War, choose the correct statement. After the death of Nana Padnavis, the Maratha polity faced the crisis of succession. The inter-clan rivalry proved fatal for the Marathas as English tried to exploit the situation, which resulted in Second Anglo-Maratha War. The Marathas signed the Treaty of Basin, which brought them under the subsidiary alliance of Lord Wellesley. As per subsidiary alliance, the Peshwa was reduced to the puppet and pensioner in the hands of company. Which, question number 37. Which one among the following statements about Jajmani system? Jajmani system or Yajmani system was an economic system most notably found in villages of India in which lower caste performed various functions for upper caste and received grains and other goods in return. In village, durable relations obtained mainly between food producing family and the families that supply them with goods and services. In Jajmani system, at the center uh, is the family of agriculturists, the zamindars. They receive services from the families of occupational caste. One who receives services is known as judgman, the patron. Question number 38. The limitation law, which was passed by the British in 1859, addressed which one of the following issue? Answer is loan bonds signed between moneylenders and Rhodes who would validity only for 3 years. According to the limitation law passed by British in 1859, the validity of loan bonds signed between Rhodes and moneylenders would be only 3 years. But moneylenders tricked Rhodes by forcing them to sign a new bond after every 3 years, wherein the unpaid balance was entered as the principal amount over time. The unpaid balance piled up and the debt mounted. Thus, this new system of bonds was associated with the misery of the peasants. Question number 39. The Hunter Commission 1882 appointed to survey the state of education in India. Hunter Commission was on education in India of 1882 brought out the neglect to the primary and secondary education in the country and recommended that the responsibility for the primary education must be given to the local bodies and municipal boards. It hence also endorsed the dispatch of 1854 with great emphasis on primary education. Question number 40. Which of the following statement about Saidi brothers uh, during the period of later Mughals? The term Said brothers referred to Said Abdullah Khan and Said Hussein Ali Khan Barha, who were uh, powerful in the during of the early 18th century. The brothers became highly influential in the Mughal court after Aurangzeb's death and became during the anarchy following the death of emperor in 1707. They created and dethroned Mughal emperor at the Mughal emperor at the there will be during 1710s. Aurangzeb's son defeated his brother to capture the throne with the help of Said brothers and Chin Queen Lynch Khan, another influential administrator in the Mughal court. Bahadur Shah I died in 1712 and his successor also was assassinated in orders of the Said brothers. Jahandar Shah was ascended himself on the throne in 1712 AD after killing his three brothers with the help of Zulfikar Khan, who was the leader of Irani party in Mughals court. Jahandar Shah was the first Mughal ruler who killed by Shahid brothers Abdullah Khan and Hussein Ali in captivity. Question number 41. The interest of the British government of India in Afghanistan in the 19th century came about in order to ensure the Russian Empire did not have an influence over the Afghanistan. In the early 19th century, increased Russian influence in Persia replaced British influence and thwarted an English scheme for establishment of a new route by river Euphrates to India, especially after the Treaty of Turcomanchia in 1828 agreement between Persia and the Russian Empire, which concluded that the Russo-Persian War. The English got alarmed about possible Russian plans regarding India. Soon there was a search for a scientific frontier from the Indian side, pass, passes of the northwest seemed to hold the key to enter India. The need was felt for Afghanistan to be controlled over the rule friendly to the British. Question number 42. Which of the following statements with regard to India's economy between 1814 to 1860? Between 1814 to 1850, four commodities dominated India's export. They are raw silk, opium, cotton, and indigo. Indigo and raw silk required processing technique. Indigo and raw silk were financed by foreign capitals. Cotton pieces, goods, indigo, raw silk, and opium were the principal export items between 1814 to 1850. Not during 1814 to 1860. Question number 43. Battle of Buxar provided the key to the English to establish their rule in India. The Treaty of Allahabad included in 1765 enabled the British to establish the rule in Bengal. Both the statements are correct. In 1764, the English defeated combined forces of Mughal Empire and the Nawab of Bengal in Battle of Buxar. The English military superiority was decisively established. In 1765, Robert Clive concluded Treaty of Allahabad with Mughal Emperor, which granted Diwani rights to English East India Company. Thus, the British power India was thoroughly established. Question number 44. Which factors are responsible for wave of change in the social justice milieu during the 19th century? India experienced a wave of change when a number of intellectual Indians came to the fore with determination to change the overall social religious milieu of the country. This was partly due to the impact of cultural modernity brought by the British regime and partly due to European developments. However, the biggest factor was the introduction of modern education based on scientific and rational approach. Question number 45. Which among the following statements are correct regarding subsidiary alliance system? The subsidiary state would not be allowed to enter into any treaty with the country other than Britain. It was framed by Lord Wellesley, the Governor General of India from 1798 to 1805. It was actually used for the first time by the French Governor General Marquis Dupleix. The Nawab of Awadh, Suja-ud-Dawla, was the first ruler to enter into the subsidiary alliance with the British after the Battle of Buxar. The subsidiary alliance in India was planned by Lord Wellesley, but this term was introduced by French Governor Dupleix. As an Indian ruler entering the subsidiary alliance with the British had to dissolve his own armed force and accept British force in his territory. The Indian state could not enter into any alliance with any other foreign power. The Indian state could not enter into any political connection with other Indian state without British approval. Question number 46. Consider the following statement. By the assertion, by the end of 19th century, India became the large manufacturer of jute in the world. A reason, its demand was more in the international market than on domestic front. Both A and R are true. R is correct explanation of A. The jute industries in India were mostly established, financed, and managed by Europeans. Gradually, India became the world's largest manufacturer of jute, only because its demand was more in international market than on domestic front. Its demand grew manifold during the first and the second world war due to the demand of gunny bags, ropes, etc. Question number 47. Which of the following were the constituents of home charges, which was one of the methods of economic drain? The home charges refer to the expenditure incurred in England by the Secretary of State on behalf of India. The main constituents were dividend to the shareholders of East India Company, interest on public debt raised abroad, expense on Indian office establishment in London, payments of British War Office, store purchase in England, pensions and furloughs payment of British officers in the civil and the military departments in India. Question number 48. Consider the following statement regarding the import and export of good after British conquest in India. The high import duties and other restrictions imposed on the import of the Indian goods into Britain and Europe during the 18th and 19th centuries, combined with the development of modern manufacturing industries in Britain, led to the virtual closing of the European markets to Indian manufacturers after 1820. The gradual disappearance of Indian rulers and their courts who were in the main customers of town and handicraft also gave a big blow to these industries. British policy of exporting raw materials also injured Indian handicraft by raising the price of raw materials like cotton and leather. These increased the cost of handicraft and reduced their capacity to compete with foreign goods. Question number 49. Which of the following movements were revivalist in nature? The Deoband movement was a revivalist movement started by Orthodox section among the Muslim ulema Muhammad Qasim Nonatawi and Rashid Ahmad Gangohi. It was established in Deoband in Saharanpur district, United Province in 1866 to train religious leaders for the Muslim community. It had a twin objective to propagate pure teaching of the Quran and Hadith among Muslims and keeping alive the spirit of jihad against the foreign ruler. The Ahmadiyya movement was a reformist movement founded by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian in 1889, who began his work as a defender of Islam against the polemics of the Arya Samaj and the Christian missionaries. Shahid Ahmad Khan started the Aligarh movement as a reformist movement. He wanted to reconcile Western scientific education with the teaching of the Quran to be interpreted in the light of contemporary rationalism and science, even though he also held the Quran to be the ultimate. Question number 50. Who among the following were the demands which among the following were the demands of the Derosians? Derosio's students, collectively called the Young Bengal, ridiculed all the old social traditions and customs, debated the existence of God, defied social and religious convictions and demanded freedom of thought and expression and education for women. They cherished the ideals of the French Revolution and the liberal thinking of England. They demanded freedom of Indian press, better treatment of Indians abroad, lawful trial of Indians by a jury, inclusion of Indians in higher level of government services. Question number 51. Find the correct match for the center of revolt of 1857 associated with British officers. In Delhi, the officer was John Nicholson, Willoughby and Hudson. James Neil was the British officer in Banaras during the revolt of 1857. Kanpur, Sir Hugh Wheeler. Lucknow, Henry Lawrence. Sir Colin Campbell. Jhansi, Sir Hugo Rose. Question number 52. The Damin I Co was created by the British government to settle which one of the following communities? Answer is Santals. The Santals were given land by British government and persuaded to settle in the foothills of Rajmahal, which were dominated by Paharia tribes. By 1832, a large area of land was demarcated as Dhamin Aiko. This was declared to be the land of the Santals. They were to live within it. Practiced plough agriculture, became settled peasants. The land grant to the Santals stipulated that at least 1/10 of the area was to be cleared and cultivated within the first 10 years. The main objective of the British government behind this land grant. Question number 53. The summary settlement in 1856 was based on which of the following assumption? Answer is the Talukdar were interlopers with no permanent stakes in the land. After annexation of Awadh in 1856, the first British revenue settlement, known as the Summary Settlement of 1856, was based on the assumption that talukdars were the interlopers with no permanent stake in land. They had established their hold over land through force and fraud. Summary settlement proceeded to remove the talukdars wherever possible. Question number 54. Consider the following statement with regard to the Gopal Hari Deshmukh Lok Lokhitwadi. He advocated he advocated a reorganization of Indian society on rational principles and modern humanistic secular values. He held the post of a judge under British rule. Question number 55. Consider the following statement about Raja Savai Jai Singh. Raja Savai Jai Singh ruled for 44 years as the king of Amber from 1681 to 1743. He is credited to perform two Ashwamedha yagas during his reign. He was an eminent statesman, efficient lawmaker, and reformer. He translated Euclid's elementary elements of geometry in Sanskrit, apart from several works on trigonometry and Napier's work on mathematical device. He was a social reformer too. He tried to curb the expenditure incurred in the wedding ceremonies of Rajput princes. Question number 56. Which of the following leaders were related to Arya Mahila Samaj? Pandit Ramabai Saraswati founded the Arya Mahila Samaj to serve the cause of women. It was started on November 30, 1882 with the aim of empowering and educating each woman for leading a dignified life. All Indian Women Conference, founded by Margaret Cousin in 1927, was perhaps the first women organization with an egalitarian approach. Its first conference was held at Fergusson College, Pune. In 1910, Sarla Devi Chowdhury convened the first meeting of the Bharat Stri Mahamandala in Allahabad, considered as the first major Indian women's organization set up by a woman. Its objective included the promotion of education for women, abolition of the Prauda system, and improvement in the socio-economic and political status of women all over India. Question number 57. With reference to policy of ring fence, consider the following statement. Warren Hastings followed the policy of ring fence, which aimed at creating buffer zone to defend the company's frontiers. Broadly it was the policy of defense of their neighbors' frontiers for safeguarding their own territories. It was the policy of defense of their neighbors' frontiers for their own territories. This policy of Warren Hastings was reflected in his war against the Marathas and Mysore. The state brought under the ring fence system were assured of military assistance against external aggression, but at their own expense. In other words, these allies were required to maintain subsidiary forces which were to be organized, equipped, and commanded by the officers of the company, who in turn were to be paid by the rulers of these states. Question number 58. The Kuntakati tenure was prevalent in which of the following regions of India during the British colonial rule? Answer is Chota Nagpur. Kuntakati land system means the joint land holdings of Kunts or tribal lineages. It was prevalent in Chota Nagpur region, mainly the present day of Jharkhand. Kuntakati land system was being eroded by Jagirdars and Tikadars coming from the northern plains as merchants and moneylenders. The area had also become a happy hunting ground for contracts recruiting indentured labor. In the early 1890s, the tribal chiefs attempted to fight the alien landlord and imposition of the Beta Beghari forced labor in the courts. Finally, Birsa Munda led the rebellion referring to as Ulgulan, Great Tumult. The revolt took place in a region south of Ranchi in 1899 to 1900. Question number 59. Consider the following statement and identify the person referred to there with the help of the code given below. During his stay in England, he endeavored to educate the British people about their responsibility as rulers of India. He delivered speeches and published articles to support his oppositions to the unjust and oppressive regime of British Raj. In 1867, he helped to establish the East India Association, of which he became the honorary secretary. Answer is Dadabhai Nauroji. The East India Association was founded by Dadabhai Nauroji in 1866 in collaboration with Indians and retired British officials in London. It superseded the London Indian Society and was a platform for discussing matters and ideas about India and to provide representation for Indians to the government. Its stated objective was to advocate for and promote public interest and welfare of Indians. It worked towards presenting the correct information about India to the British public and voice Indian grievance in British press. Question number 60. What is the correct order of the state annexed under policy of doctrine of lapse? The state annexed by the application of doctrine of lapse under Dalhousie were Satara in 1848, Jaipur and Sambalpur in 1849, Bharatpur in 1850, Udaipur in 1852, Jhansi in 1854, Nagpur in 1853. Question number 61. Which of the following statements are correct with respect to the Shuddhi movement? Shuddhi movement was a reconversion movement started by Arya Samaj to bring back the people who converted their religion to Islam and Christianity from Hinduism. Swami Shraddhananda played an important role in the Shuddhi movement. However, this led to increasing communalization of social life during the 1920s and also one of the reasons for assassination of Swami Shraddhananda. Question number 62. Consider the following statement with regard to Chaur movement. Sidhu and Kanhu were the popular leaders of Santhal movement and not Chaura movement. The Chaura movement is also known as the revolt of the Jungle Mahal. Question number 63. Arrange the following history events in the correct chronological sequence. Sannyasi Rebellion 1770s to 1820s. Santal Rebellion 1855. Indigo Revolt 1859 to 60. Birsa Munda Rebellion 1899 to 1900. Consider the following pairs with respect to the European center of influence in India. French Pondicherry, Yangon in Andhra Pradesh, Karaikal, Mahe and Chandrenagar. Portuguese Goa, Daman and Diu, Dadar and Nagar Haveli and Bombay. Danish Tranquebar, Tamil Nadu, Serampore, West Bengal and Nicobar Islands. Dutch Cochin, Machilipattanam, Nagapattanam, Pondicherry and Pulicat. Question number 65. Which of the following were the weak points of the 1857 revolt? Unorganized army of rebels was one of the backdrop during the 1857 revolt. The need to create an organization and a political institution to preserve the gains was certainly felt, but in the face of British counter offensive there was no chance to build on these early nebulous ideas. The rebels had no source of arms and ammunition. They had what they had captured from the British arsenals could not carry them far. They were often forced to fight with swords and pikes against an enemy supplied with the most modern weapon. They had no quick system of communication at their command and hence no coordination was possible. Consequently, they were unaware of the strength and weakness of their compatriots and as a result could not come to each other's rescue in time of distress. The country as a whole was not behind the rebels. The merchants, intelligentsias, and the Indian rulers actively supported the British. Despite the doctrine of lapse, the Indian rulers who expected their future to be safer with the British liberal provided them with men and materials. Question number 66. Consider the following statement related to immediate reason for which Siraj ud Dowlah laid siege to Calcutta in 1759. Immediate reason for which Sirajuddaula laid siege to Calcutta in 1759-56 are fortification of Calcutta by East India Company without Nawab permission, protection given to the fugitives like Mir Zafar, Rai Durlab, Jagat Seth in the company's fort, abuse of Dastak by East India Company. Dastak was the trade permit sanctioned to the East India Company by the Mughal government. Question number 67. Which of the following pairs are correctly matched? Permanent settlement, Lord Cornwallis. Roithwari system, Captain Reed and Thomas Munro. Mahalwari system, Holt Mackenzie. Question number 68. According to the Thomas Munro, Tipu Sultan posed a great threat to the company than the Maratha because Tipu was involved in centralizing the state structure. He wielded sole authority over administrative power and personally was able to supervise the function of the state, which made him one of the most industrious rulers in the Indian history. Tipu devised a comprehensive land revenue system based on a detailed survey and classification of land, in which the tax was imposed directly on the peasant and collected through salaried agents in cash, widening the source base of the state. Tipu tried to use European arms and fitted out ships of modern design to create a navy which he hoped would challenge the English at the sea. Question number 69. Instructions. The following items consist of two statements, statement 1 and 2. You are to examine each two statements carefully and select the answer to these items. Description. Statement 1. The Bichune school, founded in Calcutta in 1849, was the first fruit of the powerful movement of women's education that rose in the 1840s to 1850s. Statement 2. The first step in giving modern education to girls was undertaken by Vidyasagar in 1800. Answer. Statement 1 is true, statement 2 is false. As a secretary of Bichune School established in 1849, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was one of the pioneers in higher education for women in India. The Bichune School, founded in Calcutta, was the result of the powerful movement for women education that rose in the 1840s and 1850s. The Bichune School, founded by J.E.D. Bichune at Calcutta, was the first fruit of the powerful movement for the education of women which rose in 1840s and 1850s. Butine was the president of the Council of Education. Mostly due to Butine's effort, girls' schools were set up on a sound footing and brought under government's grant in aid and inspection system. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was born as Ishwar Chandra Bandopadhyaya, was a Bengali educator and social reformer from the Indian subcontinent, was a key figure of the Bengal Renaissance. He was born in 26th September 1820. And question number 70. Which of the following are the characteristics of the sannyasis and fakir uprising? After the British had acquired revenue rights in Bengal, many zamindars there had fallen upon hard time owing to the steep tax rate. It was the practice of sannyasis to collect alms and contribution from these zamindars during their religious travel. This was stopped when the zamindars found it difficult to provide alms, since after paying the British their due, they were hardly left with any substantials. The British considered the sannyasis looters and imposed restrictions on the sannyasis, barring them from visiting holy places. Sannyasis rose in rebellion against the British and raided English factories and government treasuries. This rebellion was centered in the forest of Mushirabad and Baikunthapur, Bengal. In 1771, 150 unarmed sannyasis were killed under the order of the Warren Hastings. The sannyasi uprising went for about 50 years and was suppressed completely only in the 1820s. Equal participation of Hindu and Muslim characterized the uprising, sometimes referred to as the Fakir Rebellion. Majnun Shah, Chirag Ali, Musa Shah, Bhavani Pathak, and Devi Chadurani were important leaders. Question number 71. Which of the following statement about the Hastings Plan of 1772 are correct? The Governor General of India, Warren Hastings, proposed a judicial plan. Civil and criminal court were established in each district. The two appellate courts were established at Calcutta, one for civil and the for criminal. The judges will be assisted by the native experts in Hindu and Islamic laws. Question number 72. Which of the following statement about the social reform Rajaram Mohan Rai is true? Rajaram Mohan Rai was an Indian social educational reformer who was also known as father of modern India, the father of Bengal Renaissance. He was born on May 22nd, 1772 in the Bengali Hindu family. In 1814 and 15, Rajaram Mohan Roy set up the Atmiya Sabha or Society of Friends in Calcutta to propagate the monotheist ideals of the Vedanta and to campaign against idolatry, caste rigidities, meaningless rituals, and other social ills. In 1828, he founded the Brahmo Samaj, which was later called as Brahmas Brahmo Samaj. He translated the Vedas and five of the Upanishads into Bengali. He also helped enrich the Bengali language by compiling Bengali grammar book and evolving the modern elegant prose style. Roy condemned oppressive practice of Bengali zamindars and demanded fixation of minimum rents. He also demanded abolition of taxes on tax-free lands. Question number 73. Which of the following statement regarding the Lord Ripon plan for local self-government are correct? Lord Ripon's plan for local self-government in India is as follows. The subdivision, not the district, should be the maximum area served by one committee or local board with primary board under it serving very small areas so that each member of it might possess knowledge and interest in their affairs. The local boards should consist of a large majority of elected non-official members and they should be presided over by the non-official members. Question number 74. Under the forceful thrust of British rule, a rapid transformation of the Indian economy took place. In this context, which of the following statements are correct? During the colonial rule, British government enforced its commercial and other policies on the Indian people. The more particularly the laissez-faire policy enforced by the British had created a serious impact on the traditional economy of our country. Moreover, the trade policy of the British had threatened our home industry, leading to a total change in the production system of our country. All these had transformed the Indian economy into the primary producing country, exporting mostly raw materials, tea, etc., and importing British industrial products. In the introduction of these policies were causing drainage of precious resource of India. Question number 75. Identify the correct sequence of the following events of Indian history. The correct sequence are Pitt's India Act 1784, Subsidiary Alliance 1798, Treaty of Lahore 1846, Doctrine of Lapse 1848. Question number 76. Which of the following statements about feature of Sanskritization are correct? Sanskritization refers to the process wherein a low caste tribe or other groups collectively change their custom, rituals, ideology, and ways of life in the direction of some upper dominant caste to acquire higher status in the society. The practice includes adopting vegetarianism, wearing of sacred threads, specific prayers, religious ceremonies, and so on. Question number 77. Which one among the following was a reason for which the French could not succeed in India in the 18th century? Jean Baptiste Colbert founded the French East India Company in 1664 with the intention of rivaling the success of English and Dutch in India. Their trading company was heavily dependent on French government. The French government at home or the company was not in a position to come out with the necessary financial help even at the time when Duplex had succeeded in capturing territories in India. Poverty dogged the French in India even when they were at the zenith of their power in India. Question number 78. Which of the statements given below about Vivekananda are correct? Swami Vivekananda recognized the energy of individual human as a form of divinity and built a tremendous positive psychology for humankind. He applied philosophy of Advaita Vedanta to build humanity and spirituality. It also reflected his practical Vedanta idealism. Thus, Vivekananda acted as a great philosopher of Advaita Vedanta and social reformer in colonial India. He considered the Veda to be the infallible. Vivekananda believes that caste must exist and it cannot be destroyed completely as the prevalence of caste is for the good in society, but privileges resulting from the caste distinction must be exterminated as the caste system does not allow any pilgrimage in and any privilege in society. Question number 79. Which one among the following statements appropriately defines the term drain theory as propounded by Dadabhai Nauroji in his work Poverty and Un-British Rule in India? The drain theory was first developed by Dadabhai Nauroji in the series of speeches and writings subsequently published in 1901 in the volume entitled Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. During the late 19th and early 20th century, the drain theory came to be seen as the symbol of Indian economic nationalism. Its message was that the financial mechanism by which British rule in India was maintained led to the transfer of wealth and income from India to Britain, imposing the bleeding drain on the Indian economy. Question number 80. Which of the following statements regarding permanent settlement is correct? The permanent settlement of Bengal was brought into effect by the East India Company headed by the Governor General Cornwallis in 1795. This was basically an agreement between the company and the zamindars to fix the land revenue. Lords or zamindars were recognized as the owners of the land. They were given hereditary rights of succession of the land under them. The zamindars proprietorship would stay as long as he paid the fixed revenue at the said date to the government. If they failed to pay, their right would cease to exist and the land would be auctioned off. Question number 81. Match list 1 with list 2. The third Carnatic War, Treaty of Paris. Third Mysore War, Treaty of Srirangapatnam. First Maratha War, Treaty of Salbai. First Anglo-Sikh War, Treaty of Lahore. Question number 82. The Deccan Agriculturist Relief Act of 1879 was enacted with which one of the following objective? Answer is give legal aid to insolvent peasants. Deccan Uprising began at Supa village in the district of Pune in 1875. Accordingly, the Deccan Roads Commission was set up, which presented a report to the British Parliament in 1878. In 1879, the Agriculturist Relief Act was passed, which ensured that the farmers could not be arrested and imprisoned if they were unable to pay their debts. The main objective of Deccan Agriculturist Relief Act of 1879 was to restrict the sale of land for indebtedness to outsiders. Question number 83. Which of the following statement about the social base of the Arya Samaj in British in India are correct? Answer. Swami Dayanand was the founder of the Arya Samaj, was born in 1824. When India was ruled by the British, Dayanand was the son of Brahman father and mother. The following statements are correct regarding the social base of the Arya Samaj in British India. First one, it was located mainly in Punjab and western Uttar Pradesh. It mainly comprised of the trading castes. Question number 84. Which of the following pairs are matched correctly? Mangal Pandey belonged to the Barakpur regiment. Delhi, Bahadur Shah, General Baght Khan. Faziabad, Maulvi Ahmadullah. Lucknow, Begum Hazrat Mahal. Birjis Khadir Ahmadullah. Question number 85. Consider the following statement with respect to annexation of Indian states by East India Company. Lord Dalhousie was of the view that British exports to the native states were suffering because of the maladministration of these states by their Indian rulers. So, to increase the exports, they should be annexed. Because of the loyalty of the states during 1857 revolt, their political use of backwaters in political storm in future. Policy of annexation of Indian state was stopped after 1857 revolt. Question number 86. Consider the following statement regarding the stagnation and deterioration of agriculture during the British period. As a result of overcrowding of agriculture, excessive land revenue demand, growth of landlordism, increasing indebtedness, and the growing impoverishment of the cultivators, Indian agriculture began to stagnate and even deteriorate, resulting in extremely low yield per acre. Overcrowding of the agriculture and increase in subfeudation led to subdivision and fragmentation of land into small holding, most of which could not maintain their cultivators. Question number 87. Consider the following statement about the Treaty of Purandara. Regarding the Treaty of Purandara, Shivaji had to surrender 23 out of 35 forts to the Mughals. He agreed to send his son Sambhaji in service of Mughals. Sambhaji granted the mansab of 5,000. Shivaji also assisted the Mughal commander during the Bijapur expedition. On 11th June 1665, Mirza Raja Jai Singh received Shivaji at the foot of Purandara fort, and then being beset by him and fall was imminent. Shivaji now agreed to conclude the famous Treaty of Purandara. He had to give up his fort at Purandara, Rudramahal, Kondana, Kandagla, Lohagad, and Isagad, Tung, Tikona, Rohida, Nadurga, Mahuli, Bandar Durga, Palaskol, Rupgad, Bhaktgad, Morabha, Manikgad, Sarupgad, Sakhargad, Marakgad, Ankola, Songad, Mangad. 12 forts were left with Shivaji on the condition of service and loyalty to the Mughal Empire. Question number 88. Consider the following statement. The first railway line running from Bombay to Tana was opened in traffic in 1853. The first telegraph line from Calcutta to Agra opened in 1853. Lord Dalhousie introduced postage stamp in India. Question number 89. Which among the following acts passed by the British government responsible for the was not responsible for first war of Indian independence? Answer is Government of Indian Act 1858. By the Government of Indian Act 1858, the power to govern India was transferred from East India Company to the British Crown after the revolt of 1857. General Service Enlistment Act 1856 was one of the factors leading to the revolt of 1857. Through this act, Indian soldiers were ordered to be stationed outside of India. Question number 90. Consider the following statement regarding Satyashodak Samaj. Satyashodak Samaj was founded in 1873. Truth Seeking Society was with Mahatma Jyotiba Phule as its first president and treasurer, and Narayan Rao Govind Rao Kandalak was elected as its first secretary. A member at Satyashodak Samaj had to take an oath in the name of God Kandhe Rao and declare his allegiance to British rule. Membership of the Samaj was extended to all the castes, including Mahars, monks, Jews, and Muslims. The main objective of the organization was to liberate the Shudras and Ati-Shudras and to prevent their exploitation by the upper caste like Brahmins. It opposed idolatry and denounced the Chaturvarna system of caste system. It propounded the spread of rational thinking and rejected the need of Brahman priestly class as educational and religious leaders. It believed neither in the caste system nor in the basic fourfold division of society. Question number 91. Choose the correct option. Lord Dalhousie, Doctrine of Lapse, Warren Hastings, Ring Flint's policy. Lord Dalhousie, Misgovernance of Awadh. The policy of paramountcy was first introduced during the tenure of the Governor General Warren Hastings in India. The policy was also known as the policy of subordinate isolation. Question number 92. Who among the following established the Mukti Mission in Pune? Answer is Pandit Ramabai. Pandit Ramabai founded the Mukti Mission in Pune in 1889. It provided housing, election, and vocational training and medical services to abundant people. However, it was mainly aimed at providing refuge to young widows abused by their families. Question number 93. With reference to Pondicherry, now Puducherry, consider the following statement. The first Europeans to occupy Pondicherry were the Portuguese during the 16th century. They were followed by Danes and Dutch. The French company set up trading center at Pondicherry in 1674. British captured Pondicherry in 16 January 1761 from French, but by the Treaty of Paris, Pondicherry was returned to French and remained under them till 1954. Question number 94. Consider the following statement about Deoband School. Deoband movement was begun at the Darul Ulm Deoband in Saharanpur district in 1866 by Muhammad Qasim Nanotawi and Rashid Ahmad Gangohi to train the religious leaders of the Muslim community. It has the twin objective of propagating true teachings of Quran and Hadith among Muslims and keep alive the spirit of jihad among the against the foreign rulers. These schools sought to drive the British out of the country and convert the land into the Dar ul Islam. Question number 95. Choose the correct options. First Anglo-Mysore War, Treaty of Madras. Second Anglo-Mysore War, death of Hyder Ali. Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, death of Tipu Sultan. The second Mysore War was ended with the death of Hyder Ali after being defeated by the army of Iri Kut at Porto Nova. It ended with the sign of Treaty of Mangalore in 1784. The first Anglo-Mysore War between Hyder Ali and British ended with the Treaty of Madras in 1769. The Third Anglo-Mysore War between Tipu and British ended with the war defeat and signing of the Treaty of Srirangapatnam. The Fourth Anglo-Mysore War 1799 between Tipu and the British resulted in the final defeat of Mysore. Tipu Sultan died in the war and Mysore accepted the subsidiary alliance. Question number 96. Consider the following statement with respect to the Pitt's India Act. The Pitt's India Act reduced the Governor's General Council strength to 3 members. The Board of Control was created for political matters, and the Court of Directors was appointed for commercial affairs through the Pitt's Indian Act. The presidencies of Madras and Bombay became the subordinate to the Bengal presidency. In effect, Calcutta became the capital of the British possessions in India. Question number 97. Which of the following statements are correct? Indian society during 19th century was marked by religious, superstitious and social obscurantism. There was less curiosity among Indians to do experimentation in the field of science and organization of social and philosophy, etc. The society was largely male dominant and patriarchal, where women possessed very little independent autonomy. The position of women was degraded in society and polygamy was practiced. Female infanticide prevalent. Child marriage, Prouda system, widowhood and dowry system resulted in internal weakness of Indian culture. Question number 98. Who among the following leaders of the revolt of 1857 escaped to Nepal after their failure in revolt? Answer is Nana Sahib and Begum Hazrat Mahal. Nana Sahib, after his defeat, escaped to Nepal in 1859. Similarly, Begum Hazrat Mahal of Awadh was forced to exile in Nepal following the war of 1857. Question number 99. Which among the following was the most immediate factor for the spread of Swadeshi and boycott of foreign goods during the first decade of last century? Answer is Curzon's partition of Bengal. The division of Bengal carried out by British Viceroy in India, Lord Curzon, despite a strong Indian nationalist opposition, it began the transformation of the Indian National Congress from the middle class pressure group into the nationwide mass movement. The main intention for the partition of Bengal was to separate the Muslim in East Bengal from the rest of the Bengal and thus to weaken the Congress. It was the most immediate factor for the spread of Swadeshi and boycott of foreign goods. Question number 100. Which of the following statements relating to the India's Council Act 1861 are correct? The Executive Council of Governor General was added a fifth finance member for legislative purpose. For legislative purpose, a provision was made for an addition of 6 to 12 members to the central executive. At least half of the additional members were to be non-officials. Governor General had the power of making rules and regulations for the conduct of business of executive council.